In episode number 225, we cover Matt Ryan's latest return as Constantine.
We also have Marvel Comics' latest change to the digital codes. That free code that you get with your books, it's not going to be the same.
We'll also have a full spoiler review of One Piece Gold, the movie. Did either of us ever watch One Piece? No.
Some ignorant opinions coming right up. And our comic book highlight this week is Batman number 14, which is Rooftops Part 1, a great jumping on point.
All of this and much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
For those of you joining us for the very first time, welcome. The way we format the show is first we start out with some news, again ranging from all those things I mentioned before, and we follow up with a comic book highlight of the week.
Compared to last week, you must have burned about 75,000 calories on this insane thing you call running.
It was actually 3,000 calories over 2 days. I did count them.
So a little over a Chipotle meal.
Yes. I burned off that one burrito I ate from Chipotle. Yes, as we mentioned last week, I had my marathon or my marathon and a half coming up, and I ran that this past weekend and almost died. It was great. Saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
You saw the light. I don't know what kind of lights you were watching, because after so many miles, it must just get like monotonous. And I compare that to when I worked about 33 hours straight. And by the end of it, everything just seemed silly and ridiculous. Like I was questioning the structure that is working and the economy. You just get really weird and metaphysical. I'm sure that happened to you.
No, because I was so just physically exhausted that it was just like one foot in front of the other. So what I ran, for those of you who don't know race talk, a marathon and a half is 39.3 miles. And I got lost for my half marathon, so I really ran about 40 miles. And by run, I mean I traversed. Like, there was a lot of walking in there, too. But yes, by the time I hit mile 9 of my full marathon, which was 26 miles, I was done. I was done with life. I was done with this fucking race. I was done with my knees and my hips. I was just going to cut them off. Like,
that's the point in which you feel the parts of your body that are like, okay, in 25 years, this is going to shatter and no longer work.
Yes, exactly. That's where I was at mile 9. Keep in mind that still means that I had 17 miles to go. And I saw the bus at one point, and the bus looked real cozy, but I made it.
And to those unfamiliar, the bus is essentially the give-up bus. So if the bus catches up to you, you have to ride it, and you can no longer ride or run the marathon.
Correct.
But for it to catch you, you would just have to walk the entire marathon, right?
Just walk very slow. So I walked the majority of my marathon, but I made sure I paced myself at like a 15.5-minute mile. So it was some speed walking. But you have different layers. So you have the pacers, and you try to keep up with the pacers. And I was hanging out with the 7-hour marathon pacers. And, you know, you just hang out with them and you follow them, and they tell you when to run and they tell you when to walk, and if you'll make it if you just stay with them. And then if you go behind the pacers, then there's the balloon ladies. And the balloon ladies wear giant Mickey Mouse balloons because it was a Disney race, right? And you cannot fall behind the balloon ladies. If you get behind the balloon ladies, there's this bus that creeps behind them the whole time, and they'll pick you up and you're done. That's it.
What if you refuse? What if you're like, I'm just going to keep running behind the bus?
Fuck you! Fuck you! Like, I don't know, look at the police or something out there. Get you kicked off. You won't win your medal. Explain
to me what you saw with all of the other runners. I want to hear about the ones that were, like, holding their back, like, oh my God, or their knees are on the floor.
So I have to preface by saying, Florida hit our winter.
Quote-unquote winter.
Quote-unquote winter. Over this race weekend. So Saturday, we had a bunch of thunderstorms roll through, which brought the cold front. So they canceled the half marathon on Saturday. Because you're supposed to go out and you're supposed to run through Magic Kingdom and finish in Epcot. And do your 13.1 miles. They canceled it. So they gave all the runners the option. They gave them several options, one of which was you could go and run the full marathon instead of the half. They would just transfer it to the full. So there were a lot of people running the full marathon that were only planning on running a half marathon. So they were not happy. Some of them just ran the 13 and then got on the bus.
That makes sense.
Some ran less than 13 and got on the bus. Some finished the whole thing and were like, oh, yeah, I was only supposed to run a half and now I ran a full. I'm like, okay. Even though they canceled my race, I still went out and ran the day before. So I still ran my half and my full.
I remember you doing that, and I really admire you for that because you didn't have to. You still could have gotten your medals just the same as long as you finished the other marathon. But you told me that you did not want to feel as if you haven't earned it.
Mm-hmm.
The day off, you had your day off the day right before, and you hadn't trained up to this point. We've been talking about how you haven't been training. You ran your 13.1 miles, was it?
It came out to like 13.5 because I got lost in a neighborhood somewhere.
Just so you can say, yes, this would have been my half marathon.
Right. And I'm glad I did one because I felt like I earned, because once I finished it, they put all 3 medals on me. So you get one for the half, one for the full, and then I got one for running both. And that thing weighed like 40 fucking pounds. Like, when you're done, I'm just like, oh, shit, I'm going to fall right here. But I felt that it was well-deserved at that point because I wanted to give up at mile 9. I kept going. Like, 40 miles in 2 days is a pretty big deal. But I was even happier because I got a jacket that said I ran 39, and I knew I couldn't wear that if I didn't run them. That's another reason that I ran it. And I was in, I think it was Best Buy the next day afterwards, and I'm wearing my jacket, and some guy goes, oh, didn't they cancel the half? And I go, I went out and ran it anyway. And he goes, oh. And like, that was it. Like, he was trying to catch me, but you weren't going to catch me. Rabbit trail, I'm sorry. So back to the point. There were people falling left and right. My favorite was this guy. He was around mile 15. And sassiest man I think I've ever met. And he was holding some girl's hand because I guess she was helping him. They're walking really fast, and she's like, it's okay, we're gonna make it. And he's like, no, we're not gonna make it. Everything hurts. You've been lying to me for this whole fucking race. We're not gonna make it. And like, I passed him, and I guess she took 2 steps ahead of him or something, and he's like, where the fuck do you think you're going? You talked me into this. You're leaving me. And she goes, I'm not leaving you. I'm right here. He goes, no, you were leaving me. He was very upset. But there were people all over the sides of the road, just like sitting. They were done. It didn't help. Again, it was Florida winter. So when we showed up at 5 a.m. waiting for this thing to start, with wind chill, it was 24 degrees.
Okay, for being outside, you could have worn pants and a sweater, maybe a light jacket. I get it.
No, man, I went to Goodwill and I bought like all this stuff I didn't care about. A lot of people did too. So I was out there in my regular running clothes, and then I had a pair of sweatpants and a hoodie and a blanket. And so you see all these people, they all start running with all this stuff, and I took a picture of it. You get to mile 1, and there's just clothes on the side of the road, and one person bagging up all the clothes. And then you get to about mile 8 or 9, because that's when the sun started coming up, and then there's just another whole pile of clothes, scarves and hats.
What is this, like the Christians thing where all the people disappear and just the clothes? What's that
The
called?
rapture?
The rapture? Was it just a partial little rapture?
We all got warm. But it was horrible because I'm running and I'm like, oh, that's a nice blanket. I really wanted to pick this stuff up and bring it home. There was a Batman beanie at one point.
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
But what if the person had lice? I wasn't about to risk that.
So what they do is they collect all the clothing, and then at the end they say, hey, if this is yours, come and get it. Or...
No, they didn't. I think they just donate it. That's typically what races do. If you throw stuff on the side of the road, they go and they donate it to some other company.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect them to keep it if I'm just littering.
No, and you got to think there were like 25,000 of us running. Mm-hmm. Like, how are you going to say, yes, pick through all this stuff? You can't.
Fuck that.
Yeah, you can't keep track of that. So it's easiest to bag it up and donate it.
When is your next marathon?
Like 2 years from now. I think I'm done for a little while. I'm very happy that I did this, but Disney races are very expensive. And I enjoy them, and they're fun because I took pictures with Jack Sparrow and Barbossa, Jack and Sally, you know, characters you never get to see. Oswald was out there.
Oh, did you get a picture with Oswald?
I didn't because his line was really long, and the balloon ladies were right behind me. I got a picture they had one set up that was all the carts from rides that no longer exist at Walt Disney World.
That's amazing.
So they had a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride card.
Cool.
They had one from Snow White, the ride that they just got rid of, 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So stuff they just keep in vaults and pull out just for the race runners.
Next time, get a picture of Oswald, because I have never seen a meet and greet with Oswald. And they just acquired him back from Universal, I want to say like 7 years ago. So I have yet to meet Oswald. They never bring him out. They've slowed down on his merchandise.
Right.
When Mr. Riggs was down here visiting, we looked for an Oswald mug, and we couldn't find one anywhere in any of the Disney parks. So he left a little sad. I'm still keeping an eye out for an Oswald mug for Mr. Riggs.
It'll happen. But yeah, they had all these, I'm trying to think of who else they had. Do you remember that cow from the old cartoons?
Mm-hmm.
She was there. Yeah. I got a picture with her. I tried to stick to the pictures with the people with the shortest lines, because if you wait in line too long, then the balloon ladies catch up, and then that means I have to run, and I was done running. I was all about speed walking.
Well, big congratulations on your race, on your marathon.
Marathon and a half.
Marathon, it doesn't matter. I can't do it. So, congrats on that.
It's definitely mind over matter, 100% ordeal, because your body's just shutting down, and then you're just like, no, we're going to go. And then I couldn't walk for 3 days, so.
That's the trade-off.
There we go.
I do want to thank Broquettes real quick before we move into the news. We're not even halfway through January, and we've already topped November 2016's downloads.
Amazing.
Which, granted, was one of our lowest months in 2016, but it was still, compared to 2015's numbers, pretty damn good.
So you guys still aren't helping us out.
No, they're helping out huge. But this will be our best month in 2017.
Far.
It's going to top out more months from even 2016. So huge thanks to all the listeners. If you're new to the show, thank you for sticking around. If this is your second, third, fourth, 100th, 200th episode, whichever level of broquette you are, you're all just broquettes. And thank you for spreading the word and for tuning in every week. Definitely keeps us going. Every single listener out there. So we do like to start off sometimes with some hashtag games that we threw out during the week. And we do have a couple of responses.
So our hashtag game this week was hashtag comic book a song.
So my response was Funky Captain Cold Medina.
Ha 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 ha.
It's good.
Ha 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 ha.
I don't think anyone remembers.
The Funky Cold Medina. Yeah, I remember it. And I know who Captain Cold is. Trying to tell me it's before my time. That's what you were going to tell me.
We got a response here from Matt over at the Super Side Up podcast, who responded with a couple, actually. Hot for Preacher. Rock Me Amadeus Cho. That was my favorite one.
Pretty amazing. You don't include me in these.
Come up with one now.
No, that's too much pressure.
We had another hashtag game also. Hashtag Dirty Video Games.
Was this the one you came up with?
Yes.
Mario Fart 8?
Yes.
Really?
Do I not impress you ever with mine?
Because that's such a boy response. Only boys talk about farts.
And all the boys laughed.
Yeah.
All the listeners.
Only boys talk about farts. Women are never impressed with farts. Why do you guys think they're so funny?
Okay, well, is this one worse then? Eric on Facebook is also a Patreon backer. Apparently not. Donkey Dong.
That one's great.
Donkey Dong 64.
Yes.
Donkey Dong Racing. Diddy Dong Racing.
It's better than farts.
I don't know. Farts are pretty funny.
No, women never think farts are funny. I don't know why. I walked to my parents' house the other day and my dad was on the phone and he held up like the 1 minute and then he just farts while he's on the phone. I'm like, really, Dad? This is not...
That I don't do.
I know, but... And then he like laughed at himself. Like, Dad, this isn't cool.
All right, kick off the news here with Marvel Cinematics Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
In an interview with Playboy, they do interviews?
Yeah, Playboy is done essentially with the nudity. Do you know why? Take one guess as to why.
Why it has nudity?
No, why they're done with nudity in their magazines for the most part.
Oh, because people just go online.
Exactly. They've realized that they can't just keep selling a magazine for the nudes, even if they're getting celebrities that, I've never seen her naked. Let's buy that magazine, because that's what moves a lot of their magazines. Mm-hmm. People are like, I have the Pam Anderson Playboy, or insert whoever has been on there. Now they actually try to make a publication where they have interviews with major celebrities, exclusive interviews, columns. Yeah, they have like the Maxim style pictures in there, but it's not just for the nudity anymore, and that's not what they're aiming for. So
you know a whole lot about this.
Let me just say, I've never bought a Playboy. I've never gone through one. I never knew friends that had Playboys, and I could never, I don't know how I'd afford one anyway, but never came across that opportunity.
I'm just saying, you still know a lot about Playboy. Did you read it online? You're just ruining their whole campaign here. Anyway, in an interview with Playboy, actor Matthew McConaughey revealed why he passed on a role in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this McConaughey. I never saw his name spelled that way. I'm sure that's how it's spelled. I was just like, wait, there's too many letters in there.
Here's his quote. I like Guardians of the Galaxy, but what I saw was, quote, it's successful, and now we've got room to make a colorful part for another big-name actor, quote. I'd feel like an amendment, end quote.
Additional quote, and there was not enough zeros on my check, end quote.
Possibly. It's such an artsy thing to say of, I'd feel like a tool, like they're just using me for the marketing.
Yeah, they are.
Take it or leave it, Matthew. You can have a role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want an Oscar. I can't do a Matthew McConaughey impression. I've never tried. And I haven't heard him recently. So feel like an amendment. Wow. Wow.
So although the character offered is unknown, reports indicate that he was offered the part of a villain.
Could this have been the best Marvel villain thus far?
Probably. Matthew's great. Like in recent years, since, what did we see him in, Lincoln Lawyer?
That was the one where we realized there's some serious shit here.
Since Lincoln Lawyer, like, he's just been rising in my books as being a fantastic actor. So yes, absolutely. I think he could have knocked it out of the park with whomever he played, and there weren't enough zeros, and he'd feel like an amendment. So somebody else will get that part. Tough for him.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is set for release on Cinco de Mayo this year.
That's May 5th, for anybody who doesn't know.
And over on the DC side, we have some more news on Shazam!
That was pretty good. I expected, like...
Where's the lightning bolt?
Wait, let's try this again.
Shazam!
That sounded like a gun. That was all.
I got shot? Was I in a shitty neighborhood or something?
Well, I mean, he grew up near the street, so it could have happened. But it sounded like an old school Western gun, too.
So I also went back in time.
How do you do lightning sounds then?
I have no idea.
So, Dwayne Johnson recently spoke out about the future of the DC Cinematic Universe and his involvement in Shazam's Black Adam.
This was taken straight out of Instagram. He had a picture set up right in front of the brand new, awesome-looking DC logo ever since DC Rebirth. And he had this to say, quote, had a very cool and strategic meeting with the heads of DC about their entire universe. As a hardcore DC fan, to get a real sense of the tonal shifts and developments coming in these future movies has me fired up. Something we as DC fans have all been waiting for a very long time. Hope, optimism, and fun. Even when talking about the most ruthless villain / anti-hero of all time finally coming to life. Prepare yourselves, DC Universe. Hashtag kneel at his feet. Hashtag or get crushed by his boot. Hashtag Black Adam. End quote.
Tonal shifts? When did he become artsy too?
That's not that artsy.
That's who talks about tonal shifts?
We've been talking about tonal shifts for the DC Universe for a couple months now.
Okay, but have we used the words tonal shifts?
Probably not.
Okay, artsy.
It's PR talk.
Yeah. And you forgot The Rock in his name.
He doesn't want that anymore. He just wants Dwayne Johnson.
No, you can't. He's always going to be Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
To us, yes, but to him, he's like, if I keep using The Rock in here, do I have to pay wrestling? Because that's kind of his thing. That's kind of their thing. They kind of made him.
I'll give it to him. That's fine. I'll just call him Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
What do you think about tonal shifts in the DC Cinematic Universe? We've both expressed that it can't be too dark for us. Mm-hmm. That is not an issue. We just want a good story and a good movie. It can't be too light either. It doesn't matter either. If it's incredibly comedic, okay, it's I don't know. I think we have a preference towards the darker films.
I will start by saying that I don't think it's that we necessarily have a preference for the darker films, but we have preference for films that tell better stories, and those typically tend to lean towards the darker side. Yeah. So if there are lighter stories that we enjoy too, but all those jam-packed humor movies that we've been seeing, that doesn't really tell a great story. That keeps you entertained for the time being and doesn't give you the opportunity to dwell on it afterwards, which those are the movies that we enjoy. And again, they tend to be darker because those are the themes that you see in them.
This seems like a move to try to appease the general audience, which makes sense because although their movies are still making lots of money, the reception from audiences and critics hasn't been the most positive. So they're trying to change that up and try to listen to audiences since they are conditioned to have more humor than what the DC movies have had so far in their superhero movies. And that's, of course, thanks to Marvel and Disney kind of setting their tone early on since they kind of got there first with their universe-building films.
Can we continue to thank Obama for, like, the next 40 years? Is that okay?
Sure.
Like, when I'm really old, can I be like, thanks a lot, Obama? And then my grandkids will be like, what are you talking about? He was the best president of all time.
No, it'd be, who's Obama?
Probably.
That's what it's going to
be. Overall, I trust DC. I don't foresee them adding so much humor that we lose interest. I can see them trying to gear more towards the general audience, but at the same time, DC's proven that they're here to tell good stories, and I don't think we're going to lose that.
Adding on to, we don't have a ton of news, but I do want to, might as well talk about it now, even though it's not in the notes. Affleck recently touched on where the Batman is and what's happening. I think a week or two ago, we said that Ben was like, I don't know if there's going to be a Batman. Who knows? I could still leave immediately. And we speculated that it could be a money issue, a creative issue. Who knows? But now he recently had an interview. I want to say it was on one of the talk shows where they asked him about Justice League and the Batman movie. And he said, I'm working on the script still. And all I'm getting all the time is, where's the Batman? Where's the Batman? The studio's asking me, where's the Batman? And I keep telling him, it's coming. It's on its way. He's just simply not finished writing this fucking thing. And weren't they supposed to start filming right now? Maybe that's why they're like, where's the fucking script?
Yeah, probably. Let him do what he wants, guys. Calm down.
Can't delay the Batman.
It'll be fine.
Because you could fit more Batman movies the less you delay the movies.
Okay, well, would you rather have a shitty-ass movie or would you rather have the best Batman movie of all time?
I'd rather have the best one of all time, but as a studio head, I'd be like, just pump out 17 of those. Release 3 a year. It's Batman. It'll sell. Let the peasants pay for their tickets.
Is he a king on a mighty throne?
Says Darth Vader Daniel. With Emperor Kelli whispering in my ear, the real orders.
Yeah, you know what I'm really whispering? Don't do it. Make the best Batman movie ever. Give them more time. Come on. Clearly you don't know Emperor Kelli.
Has our dream come true? Has hashtag Save Constantine been fulfilled?
Nope. But they're trying. And so I give them credit for
trying. This is something, all right?
It's like hashtag Constantine. Hashtag put Constantine on parole.
Hashtag saving Constantine?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. Good.
That's the name of the episode.
Saving Constantine? Wasn't there a movie like called Saving
Private
somebody?
Ryan.
No, there was another one, but it was like a romantic movie. Saving Private Ryan was not a romantic movie.
So Matt Ryan will be reprising his role as Constantine through an animated run on the CW Seeds online network.
Saving Matt Ryan. There we go. Perfect. So Ryan originally portrayed Constantine for one season of the standalone show on NBC and then returned on CW's crappy Arrow show for an appearance.
Jesus, so brutal.
I don't like that show.
Poor Arrow.
Sorry, Arrow. Don't like it.
Fans looking to hashtag Save Constantine need only be reminded that Vixen started off as an animated run before she made her live-action debut on DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay, but I'll only accept another standalone Constantine show, live action.
I had Christopher at The Irish on Fire on Twitter immediately send us the link of this news, and I'm just grateful that we're getting anything more Matt Ryan.
He's so good.
even if we don't get the show, standalone show, any other Constantine material, I'm like, okay, great. This is all bonus because that show's already canceled.
Mm-hmm.
This is bonus material in my mind. That's how I have to look at it.
But I need to find out what happened in that show because it left on a cliffhanger.
Well, we might find out in the animated version. And if we watch it, maybe he'll appear. Put him in DC's Legends tomorrow, and I will go back to that show. I will start seeing it again.
I'll just fast forward to his parts.
Just like an Arrow. If we can sit through some Arrow and fast forward to the Constantine parts, we can definitely sit through some Legends of Tomorrow.
You can sit through some Legends of Tomorrow.
You're going to wait a year from now when someone's made the compilation of all Constantine scenes in Legends of Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's what you'd do.
I'm going to wait for the Constantine AMV where they put it to like, my heart will go on. Yes, My Chemical Romance. Ugh.
Evanescence.
Yes. Every time her song comes, because I listen, my Pandora station of choice is summer hits of the 2000s.
All right.
And every time she comes on, it's always her and Seether with their Broken song. You've never heard that?
'Cause I'm broken.
Yes. And, like, that was my heartbreak song. I was like, oh, someday when I have a boyfriend and he breaks up with me, I'll feel this way.
Aren't those the ones they always put into those Snormini videos?
Probably. Oh, yeah.
Because they always have Alan Rickman, like, being mean, of course, as Snape. And then there's a lot of scenes of Hermione being sad and looking down. And they'll put those together, like Snape's being mean and not going towards her advances and becoming a kid toucher. Like, I always watch those videos. These are... No, he's doing the right thing. Like, say no to Hermione. But then at the very end, they have him, like, hugging and kissing. And they'll do, like, a iMovie merging of two different films. Alan Rickman from years ago, but they're like, that's Snape. And they just, like, two faces sort of kissing, but they're just merging two pieces of film and footage. Just so young girls, I guess, could just be like, oh, they made it in the end. Let me favorite this. Comment.
Yeah, I used to watch Sailor Moon AMVs all the time. I tried to watch Vegeta Bulma ones, but they don't exist.
Were they as bad as these, though, the Hermione ones?
No, because her and Tuxedo Mask actually got together in the end.
So here's probably our most controversial part of the podcast today. And they're back to back. And they do involve Marvel and how they're handling their comics.
So Marvel will be overhauling and replacing the way their free digital codes work inside of their physical comic books. So for those of you who don't know, in the back of every Marvel book that you buy is a digital code where you punch it in and you get that comic book digitally for free. So you have your regular one and then your digital copy. So what a lot of people do is they purchase it, type in the digital copy, read it on there, and then keep their physical copy, put it away, keep it nice and neat.
Exactly right. And this was also their initial excuse as to why they charged an extra $1 on these books, is because it came with the digital code. And then DC offered something similar during the New 52, where they said you can have the digital version of the comic book for an extra $1, and it comes with the same code. So they'd be right on par with the Marvel books as far as pricing. I do want to say real quick to anyone wondering, because I've had this question before at the comic shop. A lot of people ask if the books are devalued if the code is used inside the book. And it's a good question because there's been older comics where if the coupon is missing from like those books from the 60s and 50s and so on, then it devalues the book. But if the coupon or if the poster's still there, it's worth more. But digital codes, and I haven't seen any shift one way or another. And we certainly don't check if someone is trading in a comic like, oh, is the code still there? Is it, because you can't really see if it's active. You can see if it's been peeled back, but you can peel it back into its own original place. And then over time, as it's being squished against other comic books, it's going to look as if it was never peeled. So it doesn't really matter. So as of right now, 2017, the value is unchanged if you use the code or not in your Marvel books. And either way, they're modern books. They're not exactly shooting up to the thousands of dollars. It's not really happening. The biggest ones are probably like the first appearance of Kamala Khan, first Spider-Gwen, Ms. Marvel would be Kamala Khan. First Spider-Gwen, Edge of Spider-Verse #2, I want to say. But even then, we don't look for the codes. So that out of the way, a lot of people do use the codes and use that as their reading material. But here's how Marvel is changing their free digital codes.
Quote, Marvel is continuing our commitment by offering our fans the best value in comics, along with honoring our cornerstone of the comic book industry, the retailers.
Bullshit.
This comes from David Gabriel, Marvel's SVP of Sales. Our intent in evolving our digital code program is to offer our fans more value per dollar spent. Replacing the free digital copy, our bonus digital comics will offer fans free entry points for current on sale collected. This is a really weird quote. Okay.
For current on sale collected editions.
And in turn, invite additional and repeat traffic to our trusted retailers. Thank you. I could not wrap my head around his words because they're ridiculous.
So that is confusing.
Yes.
What does this mean is what people want to know. If you aren't already aware, the first wave of free issues that are going to be in February copies of comics, so all the comics that are coming out in February are going to have codes for issues of Civil War II number 0, just that one issue. Captain Marvel number 6, which is the first issue of the second volume, and Wolverine number 66, which is the first part of Wolverine Old Man Logan. Do you see a trend here? Do you understand the connections yet?
They all tie into their movies.
Sort of. They tie into trade paperbacks.
Oh.
So their idea is, instead of giving you guys a digital copy of the comic you already bought, which is what people like anyway, we are going to give you a choice of one of these 3. And if you buy more than 3 Marvel comics, then you have all 3. Congratulations. Like, that's all. And then at the very end, you have an advertisement for the trade paperback. So we're helping our retailers because you liked Captain Marvel number 6 so much that you want to read the trade paperback, even though you bought Venom number 3 and 4, and it has nothing to do with Captain Marvel.
That doesn't even make any sense. They should, if they want to do this, they should just include a free code for one of those 3 books.
Sure, once a month,
right.
3 different comics.
Yeah. You get your regular code for the book that you already purchased and a code for this thing. And then you can only get 3 of them, so...
And we all know, I see through their bullshit. Like, the whole reason they're doing it is to try to drive the online digital market. Mm-hmm. Because as much as they want to say the retailers are the cornerstone and the blood of the industry, no, that's not what they're saying with this quote and by what they're doing here. They're instead offering a first chapter to a trade paperback, and I guarantee you, redeem those fucking codes and tell me there is not a link at the end that says, unlock the full trade for
right here.
$14.99 or $13.99. It's not going to say go to your local retailer and pick up the trade paperback. There's such a weak connection to retailers in doing this change. It's just them continuing to try to drive the digital market, trying to switch people over to digital when people don't want that. I've seen quotes already online, and people are very upset about this. I've not seen a single positive comment from the research. When I was doing this, I went straight to the comment section on both Bleeding Cool and Userama and on Facebook. And everyone is saying this is bullshit. Why are we paying an extra $1 to get a copy of a book that we did not buy or that we do not want? Also, they can try to sell us a trade paperback. And instead, the whole point of this was so I can keep my physical copy nice, as you mentioned, and just read the digital version. Mm-hmm. And what am I supposed to do now? Just buy the digital and not have a physical copy? That was the whole bonus to it, and that's what got people, I guess, more involved in digital. What do you think about this nonsense?
I think it's ridiculous. If you're trying to sell more books, then include it for free, or every 5 Marvel books you pick up, you get one of these for free.
There you go.
Then people, then you're not giving away as many. You're still encouraging sales, but you're still giving the people the whole reason that they were getting this digital book also. I see what they're trying to do, but it's not smart.
It's not smart. It's not retailer friendly. It's not consumer friendly. And fans have already responded negatively by creating a petition to revert these changes.
We have another quote here. Marvel Comics has just decided to change how they run their digital code program. This comes from change.org petition from user James McDonald of Calgary, Canada. He continues, they will no longer give digital copies of the title purchased, but instead give a set book each week. Please help have this decision changed to actually give the fans/consumers the best value for their money.
Petitions are great and all. I don't think I hate to be that person, but I don't think it's going to do much.
I petitioned to save Constantine, and here we are.
Which we signed. I think these sales and the non-use of their digital platform is going to speak way more to Marvel and Disney than simply, you know, creating a petition about it.
For sure. Vote with your dollar. That's what we always say.
It's too bad. It's a continued set of moves from Marvel that is driving fans away from... Yeah, some of them are going more towards the DC or the independent side, but some just away from comics, because there's bound to be fans out there that only read Marvel that are reacting negative to this and saying, why am I reading Marvel anymore?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of people pull away from this and, you know, not use digital at all through them.
We had said less than a month ago that Marvel had topped up again as the top sales for comics, that DC was number one for a few months and that Marvel was back up. But there's a reason for this, because it's counting number of comics shipped, right? Mm-hmm. Which does not necessarily translate into sales. And here's exactly why. Marvel Comics has announced, which is it's already going since before this, that it will continue to ship its existing titles, so they're overshipping by 10%.
In other words, retailers will receive an extra issue for every 10 copies of a book they order.
Okay, free comics for everyone. Comics that I can tell you are not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while this gives retailers free copies, local shops still need to pay the extra shipping from the distributors. So we're not asking for them, and we're getting billed more to get them shipped. And I'm not blaming Diamond for it, because we have to pay for the extra books, but Marvel's not ponying up for those copies.
But they care about the retailers.
Of course they do.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving us free comics. Okay. How could they not care?
Of course. So this extra 10% inflates Marvel's book shipped numbers from month to month.
This is to keep someone's head from rolling.
Yeah.
This is someone going, fuck, they're not paying attention to this. Whoever, the big wigs at Disney just want to see numbers. So they can go to them and say, we're number one again. See, don't fire me. We're the number one publisher. Look how many books we shipped. They're not going to ask how many of those were free. How many? They don't understand. They just want numbers. They just want to hear good news, and that's all they're going to give to them. And this is why you're going to see a bunch of walls on the Marvel side. They're just overstocked with comics, and it's like, holy shit, man. I don't think anyone wins. Like, sure, retailers can find their ceiling, I guess, on books that they were initially selling out of. But it's not enough of a boost or help to be like, okay, well, now we know moving forward, we still have to pay for the shipping.
Do you know how many books I would order at a time?
9 at a time.
9. I would just order 9 at a time.
Just sell out of everything.
Yep. So that they never send me that extra one. That's one less book shipped.
Just upset all the customers.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm upsetting Marvel, too, because they're going to see all these numbers. Like, that person whose head's not going to roll is seeing all these numbers. He's like, yes, yes. Then it's like, Kelly's Comics, 9, 9, 9, 9. And he's like, Papa Kelly. And then we're here like, hey, 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 hey.
Marvel is, you just have to do something very simple. If you really care about the retailers, you're going to do what Boom Studios, what IDW, what DC Comics, what Dark Horse, what Dynamite have done in the past, and what many are still doing, Valiant as well. Make your books returnable.
Mm-hmm.
Make them returnable. If this is all so that we find the ceiling, do what Rebirth did recently. Order as many as you'd like, and whatever you don't sell, return back to us, and we'll give you credit. Do that, Marvel, instead of over-shipping books so that you can look better to Walt Disney.
Looking at this situation, I feel like the head honchos are not going to be in the dark for much longer. They're making all these changes. I think they're just going to hurt them, and they're going to hurt themselves. And whoever's not trying to get fired, pretty sure they're going to get fired.
There's going to be a massive set of fire.
Right. And I think we will see turns away from this soon. But everything we've seen over the last few weeks that they're doing, they're not smart decisions. They're not considering retailers. They're not considering their customers. It looks like desperate pleas to make more money off these and not making the right moves to make those money. It feels like somebody who has a degree in business but not in comics.
The other issue, too, and customers are noticing, is that they're letting the live-action movies dictate what happened in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why. It's because the movies are making you billions of dollars. That, on paper, that makes sense. But what they're doing instead is they're killing their comic industry. Their comic world of Marvel is suffering because of it. When people don't want to see the cinematic versions of the characters in their books, they're instead losing out on those familiar teams. Like the Fantastic Four, they've downplayed over the years because they don't own the rights to, but they can sell to Fantastic Four fans. They are out there. There's a market for them. They were the first major team for Marvel Comics was Fantastic Four in response to the Justice League. But, now the X-Men, although it's not as bad because I'm sure they worked out some deal with Fox now that Deadpool is huge and it's only a matter of time before we see some kind of announcement. But instead, it's them just wanting to build up the characters that they know they own the film rights to and trying to give them books to get people familiar. Let's give Mosaic his own book. Let's give the Inhumans all this spotlight, and let's give Kingpin his own book. We own these guys, right? Give them a book. It's kind of insane. I don't know. It's so dangerous. But if you have Disney backing you, then other than people being fired, there's no consequence overall as Marvel.
Again, it just looks like they have the wrong people in these positions. People who think they know what they're doing and they really don't understand comic book fans. They look at their movie fans and assume those are comic book fans. And that, I really don't feel that that's accurate.
Exactly right. They're not, while people are going to go see the movies and then go and buy a Guardians of the Galaxy book after they see Volume 2, that's not the majority of your market. The majority of the market, maybe they all see the movies, but they're not coming from the cinematic universe. It's a little weird to say, and I'm not trying to say this negatively, but people that see the movies and they're like, okay, I want to buy Captain America books now. They don't all stick around for the long haul. They're not going to be buying your books 20, 30 years from now. It's going to be people already with subscriptions that know the characters on film, like, oh yeah, that's Thanos at the end of Avengers, and not looking up like, who was that guy? Was that Hellboy? I don't understand who was at the end of Avengers. So that's the market you want to please and kind of write stories for. And instead it's more of a model that tries to keep the general audience that is not there to buy your books every single week.
I want Marvel executives to be listening right now, like, oh, these two, hire them. And I'm like, I got even less experience than the bozos you got running. Don't hire me. No, sign my paycheck for a while. It's already going in the ground, whatever.
Fuck that, hire me. I'll fucking try something. And if successful and I get paid for it, my tune's going to change very quickly.
DC who?
Daniel, Manhattan and Batman are fighting in that. It's still not as good as the Alan Moore stuff. Let's talk about Venom.
I don't know who you are anymore. Next you'll say you want to name your kid Peter Parker or some bullshit.
Did Disney pay for it? Fine. I don't care. I'll do it. I don't give a shit.
Are they signing my paycheck? Sure.
So quickly sell out. And anyone scoffing knows when you get Disney money, you take Disney money.
You take it and you run.
So that wraps it up for our news this week. As we mentioned, the lighter news week. We do have our Patreon shout-outs this week before we head on over to Batman number 14 and our spoiler review of One Piece Gold, which we are keeping at the very end of the show for any listeners that are planning on seeing it.
So our shout-outs this week go to Neil, who is at InMattZ68, and John, who is at John72Tex.
Thank you so much, Neil and John, for your continued Patreon support. Definitely helps us out and gets us closer to goal number 3 on Patreon. I'm about to put up a picture of the latest t-shirt design. Still waiting on it, working, and Lazy Nerd Design is getting back to us on the design. It's the most complex so far of the design, so I'm really excited to see it. That one is still several months away, but there's one coming up very soon that Broquettes are going to get a first look at. Patreon backers get it first. And then everyone else gets to see it on Facebook and Twitter. But we are $12 away from our third goal on Patreon, in which it'll give us a full website rehaul where we can have an e-commerce site where we can offer these new t-shirt designs. In the meantime, we're getting them made, paying the fees for the setup on all the brand new designs. But if you do want your Patreon shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke for as little as $1 a month. Less than a bag of chips a month. You too can get your Patreon shout out, and you can support your fellow The Reasons I'm Broke hosts as we put it all right back to improving the show and improving the podcast and overall offering more things for all of our listeners.
But of course, guys, our podcast will always be free. The absolute best thing you can do for us is leave us a review, a comment, especially on iTunes.
Yes.
That helps other people find us for sure. Or let your friends know about us. If you know we're going to be talking about a movie coming up and you know they were interested in it, send them on over. We'll probably offend them, but whatever.
Yeah, and you definitely are helping. Again, huge thanks for making January amazing so far. I can't wait. I can't even anticipate. You're setting the bar high, honestly, for 2017 and downloads and listens. So huge thanks, and hopefully 2017 is our best year yet, and this trend continues of more and more Brokettes every single year discovering the show. And hopefully they're all taking away something from the podcast every single week that they can laugh at, that they can enjoy, or that they learned from.
1 year, we'll have like 5 listeners. We're almost there.
Almost there. Someone's like, how do you guys have less listeners than Patreon back? Don't worry about it. Just
Shh. It's okay.
My name is also, I may or may not also be Alexander and Lourdes and Katie and Christopher and Neil. No, they're all real Brokettes. Thank you so much, and do follow them. Neil at nmattz68 and John at John72tex. Also, huge thanks to fandomfi.com for the help at the $5 decal tier.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to The Reasons I'm Broke.
So our comic book highlight this week is very dear to me. It fulfilled all my dreams and more.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
And I knew the moment that you said you hated it that I would enjoy it.
I didn't say I hated it.
The moment that you were disgruntled by it.
That's fair.
Okay. So this is Batman number 14, written by Tom King, with art by Mitch Gerads?
I guess so. Gerads.
That would just, I mean, if I were a colorist, that would just be my name. Actually, if I were a colorist,
He is a colorist, too.
Okay, so
he
there
did
he
all
goes.
the artwork in this.
Gerads.
You just look at the fucking cover on it. Batman number 14. It's got Batman looking down on Catwoman, who has her arms wrapped up behind her and on Batman's neck.
Yep.
All romantic looking.
Romantic.
I'm thinking, well, it's Batman. He's not really returning the love. And then I read the book.
Oh, but he is.
And it is... The last time they had sex, I want to say, was in Catwoman
number 1.
The New 52 run, right?
Yeah. When they had like a full page spread.
Yeah. Yes.
Of them. I remember. I read it in Starbucks and it was very awkward.
It's still awkward to see Batman have sex. I just never...
Did you see his booty on the last page?
They show his ass.
That was his naked ass booty.
Yes, and that's fine because we've seen Batman's ass before. They've had his ass cracked. They've had his ass.
We saw him like last week. Old man naked ass Batman.
I don't which
in Dark Knight 3.
That's right. Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah,
and Dark Knight 3 as well.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck in the Batman v Superman extended edition. There's just a shower shot.
I'm sad now. Let's go watch that movie.
But here it is a part 1 of 2, so it is a jumping on point. If you are looking to get on Tom King's Batman story, which has been a good run, not as good as Detective Comics, but still very good. And even better because Tom King has been on this run on Twitter of support your local comic book shop, and him going to his local shop and buying a shit ton of trades. I'm like, oh, fuck, Tom King is amazing. I love Tom King. I'll buy all his books. So, yeah, Batman number 14, while it's not him with Talia or with the Phantasm, as I would prefer, I'm glad it exists for you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad it's a jumping on point for new readers.
I'm glad it exists for me, too. Pretty much the whole book is Catwoman trying to convince Batman that they should just have one night together, and Batman's like, I gotta go save the city, and then they're running around saving the city together, and then in the end, they fuck on top of diamonds on a roof.
Weird.
It's great.
Weird.
It was so romantic. It was wonderful. It proves that they're meant to be together.
My favorite part of the book, Condiment King. Motherfucking Condiment King. Debuted in Batman the Animated Series. Technically titled like the new Batman. I don't give a shit. It's Batman the Animated Series. He shows up in the comic, getting punched by both Batman and Catwoman. I said, fuck yes. It's not his first appearance. He's shown up before, but just any time they bring a character from the animated series in the comic, and yes, I feel the same way anytime I see Harley Quinn because she's still from that, I'm just filled with joy because it's like, it's a little, oh yeah, remember that episode with the Condiment King? That's amazing. And I don't even know if they give Bruce Timm Paul Dini credit for that, but it doesn't matter. Give me a serious Condiment King story. Give me a Roxy Rocket. I think that's more feasible, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Revamp Mr. Freeze, as we've done with the animated series. Give us not the new 52 Mr. Freeze, but more of the animated series one, the classic one, which we are sort of getting with Rebirth. And I will happily pay double the price. Give me a Condiment King #1 Rebirth. Charge me $6, and I'll be the only person buying it.
No, I think other people would buy it too. I'll buy the other copy.
There we go. One to read and one to store.
Moral of the story is if you are a Batman and Catwoman fan, as I am, pick up this book. It was awesome. They're in love. They're happy. Saving people.
And fucking on diamonds.
Fucking on diamonds. Under the stars with Batman's booty. That'd be very uncomfortable, though.
Hard-ass rocks digging into your back and ass. And imagine what gets in your asshole. Like, how are you going to get that out? I don't know.
Shit and diamonds.
In between, like, your balls and your thighs.
Ew.
Just like, fuck, this little fucking hard-ass diamond.
Well, beyond that,
you're right, it would hurt.
too, they're on a roof. Like, roofs are not made of soft things. There's also rocks on roofs.
Mosquitoes.
That high up? I don't think so.
It's a weird scene, and it's kind of a weird book.
No, it's okay.
But you enjoyed it.
I did. They were in love. Saga was good, too. No surprise there, guys.
Before we get into our One Piece Gold review, Dragon Ball Z Super finally showed up in the US.
Yes.
There's 2 episodes in our DVR. There's another one coming right up. But we saw the first one. This ignores Dragon Ball GT. Good thing, bad thing. Your pink shirt Vegeta is gone.
I know, but now he has more opportunity to fall in love with Bulma, so I get to watch that all over again.
Maybe. If it's really Vegeta, he
it'll
won't.
happen. No, what do you mean he won't? They had another kid together. They got married.
This episode felt like classic Dragon Ball Z again, and it ties into the Dragon Ball movies that we've gotten so far. We get Beerus, and I don't know if it's a retelling of the movies. I'm a little confused on that, and I'm sure if I did a little research, I'd find out. But the Japanese anime is so far away now from what we've gotten here in the US that I don't want to potentially spoil what is coming up or who the villain is or how long it takes for them to fight. Because as a kid, you didn't know like what was coming up. You had your one friend in the classroom that would have printed scans of, this is Super Saiyan 5 Goku. He's all silver and he's got white hair and blue eyes. Oh, wow. When is that? That's in Dragon Ball GX. Like some made up bullshit. AV was the one. Dragon Ball AV. But now you can actually find out in a matter of seconds. So fuck that. But impressions on that first episode, great fucking start.
I loved it. I thought it was very lighthearted. Like it was a great way to start a series because you got to see everybody and you got to see what everybody was doing. And you have Chi-Chi, who clearly doesn't care about Goku at all.
I don't know if she loves him, honestly.
Clearly does not. It was great to see all these different pieces working together, everybody. And now you have attachments to everybody, and somebody's going to die sometime, because they always do.
I love how much positive Hercule is. He's a good person. Yeah. I can argue he is definitely a good person. He still has Boo that he cares for. It's all of the original voice actors, as far as I can tell, that came back for Dragon Ball Super. And the animation looks gorgeous. I cannot wait for that first huge major fight that we get.
They got to power up for like 40 episodes.
In full HD. Well, they don't have to do that anymore because now it's written ahead of time, so they don't have to bullshit like, okay, the manga hasn't caught up to us, so let's make a filler episode of them just powering up.
But that's all this show is, and that's what we come to expect. So if they don't have a filler episode of them powering up and rocks moving and waves splashing and volcanoes exploding, I will be very upset.
Look, I'm much older now. I don't have time for that shit anymore. This is like Dragon Ball Z Kai. Cut all the bullshit. Give us the plot details. So you want him just to go like, and then he's ready to go? Sure, let's see the fight.
No.
I am 28. I'm going to be 29. Just give me the shit. Maybe I'll lose interest. Maybe I won't have time anymore. Maybe I'll go blind over some freak accident. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm more vulnerable as I get older. Just give me the story.
You do realize that you're kind of like in the prime of your life right now, and that men only get better with age. Like last year, that was as good as I'll ever be. And that was last year.
If I can look anything like the Dos Equis guy when I'm his age, success. Like I will have officially been like, damn, fucking genetics. Thank you, mom and dad. This was thoroughly nice.
You could start running some marathons with me.
I don't think the Dos Equis guy ran marathons. Mexicans, we don't really run marathons. We don't do that. We don't. We've got short legs. We're not made for running.
You think I'm made for running?
We've got the broader shoulders. We're made for working.
Okay,
That's
well.
what we do.
I'm pretty sure I am not made. What were my people? Irish? Do Irish people run marathons?
No idea. That's a different continent.
I don't know. I feel like, or I'm also Dutch. I feel like we just wear like our wooden shoes. And,
I feel like that's racist.
And milk cows.
Why is that racist?
Because it is. Because I am making a generalization about my ancestors.
There you go. One Piece Gold.
One Piece Gold.
This is your spoiler warning.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome one and all to the world's greatest entertainment city, Grand Tesoro! Enjoy your stay.
Wow! It's like we drove into some kind of fantasy land!
If you're planning to see One Piece Gold when it eventually makes its way to Blu-ray, home video, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Otherwise, if you want to hear an ignorant opinion about One Piece, because we haven't seen an episode, I've seen like bits and pieces from what my brother used to watch.
I've seen posters.
Get ready for our uneducated feedback and review of One Piece Gold. First, we were invited by Garrett and Sam. Shout out to Garrett and Sam to watch this Fathom Events screening of One Piece Gold, which I guess is the North American premiere of the film. Mm-hmm. And much like the rest of the anime movies that come out, like the DBZ ones, this is a standalone story, which we do like and we appreciate because fans like us can be like, okay, cool, we get the story, I understand. We miss all the references. Those go straight over our head, but it's not imperative to the plot.
Right. My biggest takeaway from this movie is my outrage at all the disproportionate females.
It's anime.
I mean, I get that, but every single woman in this was a size
G?
Z?
Is that a size?
Z is now a size. Size Z breasts. And a waist which clearly had no organs inside of it. And then lots of ass shots.
And there were a good amount of women in the audience too, so I guess it's fine. I don't know.
From what I remember, this is just how it's always been, and that's what we were told.
So it makes it okay.
That's just what the show... I remember my best friend's younger brother used to be obsessed with the show, mostly because the one lady just wore a bikini.
I will tell you what, though, I would not like it if they changed it just because people were like, well, that's not okay now. Keep the fucking original designs. It's just because we're not familiar with them that it's a little weird for us.
It's just because I'm a strong, independent woman.
Yeah. All three of those women... to me, like, blurred together, because they all had the same, like, breast size, they all had, like, the fan service for whoever they were, but I could not tell the characters apart, really, and maybe it's because I don't watch the show, or because they all kind of look the same, but with different hair color, but, yeah, I can see why you would have felt it was weird, but if that's just the show, it's the way it's been for years, don't fucking change it. Fans keep coming out for this, and they have movies, keep it going, fuck it. I think the PC culture is not quite what it is here in Japan.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me?
Let it ride.
Yeah.
There's no news stories about One Piece Gold and offending people. Just, who gives a shit?
It is what it is. I get that, but as a strong, independent woman, I was outraged.
You weren't outraged.
No, I wasn't. But
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
One Piece Gold was fun. I was still confused. I will tell you, there was a character in the movie who showed up on screen, and hopefully other brokettes that don't know One Piece and don't know what we're talking about can relate to this in some form. He showed up, he has green hair, and right now One Piece fans immediately know who it is.
Oh, that's what they're going to say. I didn't know his name.
Shows up on the screen, and
Zoro?
People immediately started losing their shit.
Like, the guy with, like, the scar over his eye?
Sure, I don't know. It's just the guy with green hair. They all look the same. The guy with green hair that was stuck in a golden star.
Yeah. Zoro.
Okay, Zoro. And people lost their shit, and they're freaking out, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be a fucking badass. And he gets frozen into like a golden star for the whole movie, except for the end where he fights the villain who gets off on being punished. Like, he is sexually aroused by being hurt. And I was more drawn to that villain and that character than everyone else in it, because I'm immature, and I'm a troll, and I'm honestly, like... is he in the show? Knowing that he's not in the show, I asked my friends, they're like, what do you think as someone who hasn't seen it? I love the guy that was punished sexually and he enjoyed it. and got off on just being hurt. Where's he appear first? Which season? Oh, well, he's just in this movie. But the show has other characters like him. No, but it's not him. Like, I was obviously trolling, but he was my favorite character. He was so really silly funny. And crazy. Yeah. More trolling by me is, at the end of the movie, I was like, why do people like that guy with the green hair? He did nothing. He just got captured and was in gold, and that was it. The real hero was the main pirate who turns Super Saiyan 4, as you had mentioned. He looks like Super Saiyan 4 Goku and beats the guy's ass.
And by looks like Super Saiyan 4 Goku, you means he just blows up to something bigger, but really round, and doesn't look anything like Super Saiyan 4 Goku.
No, he has the same color palette. He had like red, black, and brown.
Alright.
It was Super Saiyan 4 Pirate Man, whoever the fuck that is.
It was like Luffy or something. Luffy.
And
Lufa.
The other part that the audience lost their shit at was when he's Super Saiyan 4 Luffy, he says, "This isn't the first time I've ever defeated a god!" And the audience...
that's not what he said, and he wasn't Super Saiyan 4 at that. He was like Super Saiyan 3 at that time.
What did he say then? What's the line?
I don't know. He said something like, I've defeated a god before, and something. I don't know.
It was about defeating a god before. And the audience clapped, and they're like, yes! Oh!
And then he got knocked out. I was very confused.
Well, I wanted to stand up and be like, wait. Guys, who in the movie earlier was a god that he defeated? Who is he talking about? Can we rewind this? I want to, can you guys point out which one was the god? Sit down! No. I have a question. I just have a question.
I'm just confused. I've never seen this movie before.
I'm trying to enjoy it just like you. Was it one of the pirates in the opening? Was one of them a god?
Well, and then Zuko showed up at one point, and people lost their minds. Yeah, Zuko and some redheaded chick. Tuxedo Mask showed up with Tuxedo Pigeon.
Yes, a character with this fucking Court of Owls mask. And he has this little pigeon next to him who also has a mask on. What is their fucking story?
I want to know. But didn't he turn into like a leopard later? I was very confused.
He turned into a Thundercat is what I called him. I said, oh, it's a fucking Thundercat. But the pigeon was just chilling.
Yeah.
And that made him more of a badass.
I wanted the pigeon to be like the real character. Like,
yes, he's controlling the Thundercat.
Yeah. Like when they're like, oh, so-and-so. It's really the pigeon, not the guy.
What is the fucking pigeon story? I need to know. I need the guy that gets off on.
I want to know who makes little pigeon clothes.
That's his the Thundercat, his caretaker.
Is he? Or does he find like a pigeon clothes tailor? Somebody who only makes clothes for pigeons.
He personally pays someone.
Yeah, just to make his pigeon some clothes.
That was a badass fucking pigeon.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't see him fight.
No.
Didn't need to.
He didn't need to. He was the one really like controlling things.
Yeah, we know nothing.
Nothing about the show. I will say the movie was entertaining.
Yeah.
The villain, I didn't believe his motivation.
They could have used some, maybe just a tighter story on him.
Yes, what his motivation was is he's this like super rich ass man and he just wants to control everybody.
He has so much money. He has a giant boat that is bigger than most countries, and it's recognized by the United Nations as a country. And he is considered the richest man, I guess, in the world, and it is the richest country. Everything is made of gold, and that's why it's called One Piece Gold. But I guess he has some kind of demon piece that lets him control gold. So everything in the city he can manipulate and turn into liquid or turn into weapons.
Including the people, because he rains gold on them from his, like, gold cum shooters.
Yes. If you watch Avatar The Last Airbender, he's a gold bender, essentially.
Okay. I like that. He's a gold bender.
But his backstory is that he used to be super poor, and because he went through the suffering of what someone who is in poverty goes through, feels true desperation, he never wants to be in that position again. In turn, he becomes the most richest guy in the world, but he also turns into those men that bullied him and made him suffer when he was younger. And that's where the issue came up with Kelli and I, because we said, okay, is there going to be a moment here where he comes to this realization that he is that monster that he fought so hard against? But we don't get that payoff. It just doesn't happen.
There's even, they tie in a woman to that. So the reason he felt so much desperation is he had a woman who he was in love with, and she was sold off to these rich people, and because he didn't have enough money, he
human
couldn't.
trafficking,
Yeah,
right?
He couldn't buy her. So again, that ties back into that. So then I said, well, is she going to show up again and help him realize that he was wrong? And you don't. They defeat him, and he explodes into gold flakes or something, frosted flakes.
Oh, well. The rest of it was great.
Yeah,
fun.
I feel like if we were fans of the show, we would have really enjoyed it. It seemed like the audience loved it. Everybody was cheering, and there was enough cameos to keep everybody satisfied.
Yeah, the only negative I heard from the audience as we were outside is that some of them, those people that showed up on the ship later, that they all lost their shit about, and one of them was a blonde-haired guy that looked like another blonde-haired guy, but he had the scar, maybe.
Zuko.
Like Zuko. They mentioned that he and his crew didn't do anything, which they didn't. We really didn't see them again until the very end when they were getting fired upon by the ship, and they just still stood there. Like, the Thundercat had a little bit of action, but that was it. So I guess if I were a fan of them, I'd be like, yeah, they teased them, and that was it. They just kind of stood around in the outside perimeter. So that could have been something that they might have been able to cut instead of just risking the fan service for them to be kind of disappointed that they didn't do anything. But that's just from an outsider's perspective. As someone, I know Tim Yates watches One Piece, so if you're listening, Tim, let us know what that's about.
Yeah, let us know who Zuko is. I want to know about that pigeon.
Yes.
Who else did I want to know about? Zuko, the pigeon. That's it. That's fine. Just tell me about Zuko,
Just those
the pigeon. Oh wait, no, green-haired man, Zoro. What's up with him? And how did he hold that sword in his teeth and fight people? Like, my teeth hurt just thinking about chopping somebody with a sword from my teeth.
It's anime.
But
they're pirates. That should have been right up your alley.
But, I mean, they're like magical pirates.
Not Somalian pirates?
Somalian pirates aren't
Because there weren't
pirates.
magical pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean at all.
Yeah, there were.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It should have been right up your alley.
Then they're like rubber Super Saiyan pirates. And disproportionate women pirates.
So there you go. Our awful review.
Or ignorant review.
Our ignorant review of One Piece Gold. And we thought we enjoyed it. We liked it.
Can we do an ignorant review more often? Like, just pick a random anime movie and watch it, having no prior knowledge of it.
Like movie 7 of something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. just to hear
with all this time that we have to not watch filler episodes.
Or the CW shows.
Yes.
Which Bobby at Cuban Slim recently told us that we can download CW Seed on PlayStation 4 and watch TV shows through that.
I told you this. And you said you wanted to wait for Netflix, so I've been nice and waited for you for Netflix.
Because there's gaps. There's gaps in the shows. They have like 1, 2, and 3, and then like episodes 7, 8, and 9.
And if we had kept up with them when they started, like I told you to, we wouldn't be in this problem.
All right. We'll download CW Seed and we'll see where we're at. We'll see what we can complete. Fair?
This has turned into a married people argument.
We can at least watch Constantine.
I'll watch Constantine.
So that about does it for our show today, Brocats. Next week, there's going to be a special episode featuring 2 guests from Nerd Up Media. And you have heard of them before. We've mentioned them from nerdupmedia.com. We aren't able to record a regular podcast next week, which is why we are constructing this one ahead of time. And we hope you enjoy it. It is heavy on video game talk, especially if you're into Kingdom of Hearts. So you might enjoy it, Kelly.
What game? What is that? I don't know what you're talking about.
And we talk superhero movies as well. So
right.
There's something there for everyone, but especially heavy on gaming talk. For any listeners that think we don't cover video games enough, this episode should be right there with you. And that's episode number 226 coming out next week and early for Patreon backers as well. Just got to finish putting it together and then editing this one for all of you. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can find us at thereasonsimbroke.com. You will find the link to Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, everywhere you can find us. Also, Kelly's Twitter is at Palpakelly.
Yep, because I am Emperor Palpakelly and I control the universe.
So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
We'll see you next week.